Got a question from a customer on asking, how do I figure out the going rate? So the number one question is, okay, I want to understand what's the going rate so I know what to charge. Ben, how would you answer that question?
So maybe we're asking the wrong question. Do you want to know what the going rate is, or do you want to make money? So the going rate's defined by what? What other people think something's worth.
Yeah.
And some people are going to be on the low side of that. Other people are going to be on the high side of that. I remember I had an estimator working for me, and he was somewhat new to remodeling. And so when we were looking at what to charge, he went out and said, well, I went on Google and started looking at what the going rate was.
Right.
And we were losing money so fast on different projects because the going rate wasn't good enough.
4 out of 5 small construction businesses go out of business in the first 5 years. So most of them don't make it. And when we're trying to help you figure out how to be profitable as opposed to just match the going rate, if the going rate is going broke, is that what you want? Because if you follow the crowd, the majority go out of business. So the going rate is going broke, and you got to figure out, how do I be profitable? So I think you're right. That's the wrong question. The going rate can be defined by a lot of things. You could Google it. You could, whatever the guys are talking about, whatever you think it is. But sometimes the going rate is basically defined by insurance companies. There's software and algorithms out there that giant behemoth insurance companies use to figure out what's a fair price for a job. And so if you're using software, anything that's influenced by the insurance industry for what the going rate is, you got to always look back at what are they trying to do. Insurance companies trying to figure out what's the least they can pay out on something and get the job done. Right. So a lot of times, if it's an insurance company driving the going rate, that might make sense for you and what you can be profitable on, but that might not be. So be careful, really, what your source is for what you think the going rate is.
A lot of times, all the factors involved aren't really all that clear.
Right. Yes.
And so we can look at an algorithm or a formula, but does it really factor in all of those intangibles, like the quality of work?
Yeah.
Timeliness of work?
Yeah.
Who's doing the work? A lot of times, these are very personal decisions as well.
Yeah.
A homeowner needs to choose who they want in their home doing a remodel, who they want building their home.
Right.
In the commercial space, who do they want, building their restaurant or remodeling their, hotel. Yeah. So it's not always about who's the cheapest guy. And we have to remember that when we're approaching our clients, that it's not about being the bottom guy.
Yeah. I think we were talking to a customer last week, and that's the question you asked. Hey, is the goal to win the job? Customer says yes. It's like, well, what if that's not profitable? No.
Our customer?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah. So we were talking to a customer, a Congenius customer last week.
Our software customer is telling us about his experience. Okay, sorry, I'm tracking now.
So he's like, hey, we just asked him, he's like, I'm trying to win every job. It's like, well, are you really trying to win every job? Because again, then you're just
you're not. You're right.
Price.
Yeah, you cannot be winning. You cannot be after every job.
And I think it's the understanding, like, what's your value proposition. And sometimes, so if I'm charging a higher price and I hear that the customer says, well, I went with someone who costs 15% less than you did. Now that you got to look and say, okay, you got to be comfortable enough in your pricing because you understand your cost. You understand that it was a fair, profitable price for your business. Now, if the customer finds someone cheaper, that cheaper person either is, one, losing money on the job and you don't want to beat them.
Yep.
Or two, maybe they've got better processes and systems and they're more efficient than you are, or they've got lower overhead so they can be profitable doing it for less. But that's a job knowing your margins and your numbers, that if you don't win it, you're fine not winning it. But to make it competitive, and that's what happens. I think a lot of guys are like, well, I want to beat this guy to the job, right? It's like, well, okay, if that costs you money, then it's not worth winning.
We love being competitive, and and most people are that way. If you're a business owner, you're competitive. In some aspect, you have some innate kind of ability to be competitive and understand what other people are doing. But I like what you're saying there. When it comes down to what our costs are, if you know what they are, this is. Cost, in general numbers, $1,000 to do a project, there's a hard cost, and then you need to make money on top of that, and say that's a 10-15% margin. You're adding on a certain dollar amount to that, but your costs are the same.
Yeah.
Now we're just playing with the profit. So if you charge less to the customer, you're just really changing how much you take home or how much you can reinvest in your business.
Right.
So to your point on systematizing your business or improving your processes, being more streamlined, efficient, all of those things, that's where you win.
Yeah.
Because now you can now you can be competitive in a market, but you're not letting that be the decision of how you charge people for what you're doing.
Right. And I think too, like, there's a lot of people who want to charge the air quotes going rate because they think that's what's fair. And I want to be fair.
Yeah. But are we even looking at something that's totally intangible though too, like the going rate? I mean, that's just a gut feeling of like, we talked to Bob, that's also a drywall guy, and he's telling me I'm charging $1.60 a foot, and you're like, oh well. I mean, but what's he doing? Is it level 4? Is it level 5? Is it textured? I mean, how good of quality is he? I mean, what do his seams look like? I mean,
how many employees does he have?
Yeah, I mean, it's so intangible. So we're asking the wrong question. Like the going rate is so hard to define.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you have to look at, hey, like, so if we're going to get off this idea of like the going rate and say, no, the goal is not to win every job by chasing the going rate. The goal is to be profitable as a business and get the right jobs faster, right? That's what your actual goal is, to be profitable so you can make money.
Yep.
I think it comes down to then saying you got to understand what is your value proposition, because if all you're talking about in comparison to the other guy's price, then that's one aspect for sure. Like how cheaply and how low cost can you do it for the customer? But I think you've got other value props. Is it price? But you also have timing. Like, are you available? When can you get it done? How long is it going to take you? Because if that guy charges less, but it's going to take him, but you're more efficient, right? You can get the job done in 3 days. He's going to take 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, what's fair? Like, it's fair that you're charging more because you can do it more efficiently.
Yep.
And that's part of your value proposition. Or quality. The guy who's charging less than you and won the job because he charged less, maybe his quality's not very good. He's just getting started. He's taking whatever he can get. You know your quality's better. You know you're more efficient. That's why you cost more. And then being confident with that.
Yep. I was approached by, this is about 4 or 5 years ago, by a commercial company that wanted to get a infill done on a building right before Thanksgiving. They were trying to move out of space. They wanted it done fast. They called my office manager fielded it and said, hey, and then I ended up getting this, connecting with this person about a project they wanted done in 2 to 3 weeks from when they called. And I'm thinking, well, good work. Fast is not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
So it ended up being, they were pleased as punch. We got things done. We had availability to get something done for them. And I thought it was stupid numbers, but for them, they were very, very happy because that was the value prop to them. They need to be in that space by a certain time frame, and that's what we offered them. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is, it is fair, and I think somebody be like, well, he ripped them off. Well, I don't think so, because you met what the customer valued and what was doable by you for a price. And you made money on it, but you also, I'm guessing, worked right up into Thanksgiving to get it done. Right.
We had some sacrifices we made to get it done too. Right. I was pushing people to get, in and out, make it quick, efficient. We had the guys to do it. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big believer in knowing where costs are at. Because if you know what that is, what are your labor costs? What's your labor burden? What's your overhead? What does that all look like? What do those tools cost you? What does that truck cost you? What does it really cost you to have an employee? Mm-hmm. Not just the $25, $35, $35 an hour you pay them, but what are the taxes? What is the insurance? Mm-hmm. What does it cost you when they're on vacation?
Yep.
Because you're paying them to have a vacation, they earned it, but nonetheless, you're not billing their time at that point.
Right.
So you have to factor in the time that they are working.
Mm-hmm.
So when you know all of that information, you make smarter decisions, because now you go in armed to your customer. I know exactly what my costs are. You add your margins onto that for your overhead. You add margins for the unexpected, and you add your profit margin, and you know you're armed with real data that really helps you make a very smart decision going into it. And then you're not swayed by all of these things, the home advisor, all of the kind of gimmick people usually charge $3.40 a foot for that.
Let them.
But do they?
Yeah.
They're taking an average across an industry where it could be $1.20 in some cases and it's $12 in another case.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? It's not apples to apples.
Yeah. I think you have some of that debt too, where in your mind, the investment, it's like, well, I spent all this time working at this proposal and I'm going to lose it by the customer tells me, hey, if you come in $1,000 cheaper, whatever the number is, we'll do it. In that moment, you're tempted to just say yes, because you already put the work in the proposal. Mm-hmm. You already put the work in. You're like, I might as well just do it. But again, if you know your numbers, then you don't hear that question of win or lose the job. You hear that question as I'm going to make or lose money.
Yep.
And what they want me to do is lose money. And I'm just simply not going to do that. And I think, knowing your numbers is what arms you to go strategically into every one of those conversations, knowing
so well said.
where you're at. I think the other thing too is, when you understand your value proposition, you understand there's more than 3, but the 3 we mentioned, hey, what's your price? What's your speed or efficiency or timing or availability time? Mm-hmm. So price, time, and quality.
Yep.
If you understand, hey, I'm a high quality guy and I can get it done more efficiently than most because I'm good at what I do, then I don't mind charging a higher price. But the key is then, I think, is proposing your job in a manner that clearly demonstrates what your value prop is. So if you're that guy and maybe you're not that guy, maybe you're just getting started. You're like, I don't have a track record and I'm just going to go cheap price because it's going to take me longer, whatever, figure out which one of those three you slant towards. But if you are the guy who's got high quality and you're efficient at what you do, your price is going to be higher, and you got to be okay with that. And if you put together a proposal to the customer every time where you assume, yeah, they're going to get a lower cost bid, go in with confidence saying, yeah, you're going to get a lower cost price, but here's why you're going to pay more for me.
Yep.
And I think if you can communicate that to your customers, you're likely to get them to pay what you're worth.
That level of transparency builds a lot of respect with your client too. When you come into a conversation armed with the knowledge of what you bring, when you have that confidence, that really breeds confidence. When people see this isn't a used car sales kind of a thing, where we're going to see what, how much can you pay?
Yeah.
That's not that's not how that conversation goes.
Let me go talk to my finance manager. I want you to initial
this
right here.
This expires at midnight.
Yeah, exactly. If I can get it done for this price, can I get a yes from you right now?
Yeah. This is not what we're talking about. It's very much, you're going to that conversation saying, these are the things you're paying for.
Right.
And sometimes people don't want to pay for those things. And we're fine with that too.
And you got to be okay with that.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. Chasing the going rate will get you to win jobs that are losing you money. Mm-hmm. And you don't know it until it's too late.
Yeah. And we're chasing something very ethereal, very phantom. It's kind of, what are we really trying to know?
Yeah.
We've had a few people we've talked to that have talked about, hey, we beat the heck out of all of those other guys. We are competitive. We're saving consumers money. And it's kind of like a
Robin Hood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we're looking out for the little guy.
Yeah.
And I think we got to be careful with that mindset. It can be a form of just pride and thinking we're better than everyone else, and really we're just hurting ourselves, and it'll catch up with us eventually.
Yeah. I think you have a lot of good, hardworking guys in the trades who are honorable, right?
Yes.
And so they view that as fair.
I like the sentiment.
Yeah.
I think at the same time, though, it's not fair to that guy to be doing something for nothing. I've been that guy.
Yeah.
Doing something for nothing.
Yeah.
And what you get at the end of that, or what I got, let me not speak too broadly, but I got from the people I did stuff for nothing from was a big thank you. No, was just, it took too long. Why was it not done yet? I'm not going to give you the last check. Every single one of those people was just a pain in the rear end to work with because they didn't value me.
Yeah.
They were just thinking, what can I take from this guy?
Yeah.
Clearly he has a lot to take, I guess. I don't know what the mindset shift is there, but it's when somebody's focused on price, that's all they see.
Yeah.
They don't see those other two things you're talking about.
Right.
They don't value the quality.
And if that's who it is, that's who it is, and you get it. Maybe it's like a flipper or something. They just want the lipstick on a pig, something, they want to.
But they didn't want me in there.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. And if that's you, that might be your deal. It's like, I can get it done quick, cheap, and do high volume. Maybe that's your game.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that. But if you
it's
don't
a good counterpoint where it's, I don't want to be running anybody down that's doing something that the customer wants done. They want it to be quick, in and out. Hey, throw one coat of paint on and we're done.
Yep.
We've had those moments too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a house actually it was from a flipper. I didn't know that until later in the life cycle.
You and me both.
Yeah. But it was once you live in a house for a year or 2 years, you start finding all these little things where you just realize they did this in the cheapest way possible. But I realized, in hindsight, I kind of put it together. I'm like, they were flipping it.
Yep.
So that was their objective.
They wanted to look like it was
good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. There's a difference between looking good and being good. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are good at looking good. But if you actually are good, find a way to present that and go into every proposal saying this customer will get a lower bid. And whether they will or not, whatever, just if you assume that, and then you're communicating, hey, I am the best quality and I'm efficient. I'm good at what I do. Put a proposal in front of them that communicates and conveys that. You're likely going to win the job, even though you're not the cheapest guy. But if you don't communicate the value prop and all they're looking at is two numbers, they're always going to pick the lower number.
Yeah. And a lot of times that lower number is not that much lower.
Yeah.
$5,000, $10,000. Yeah, and I bought a house recently too, and even the joke around our house is my 9-year-old will go say, "Yeah, cheap." Just like they cut another corner.
It sounds like your kid. That would fall from the tree.
Yeah. He's like, "Dad, why is everything in this house so cheap?" Anyway, I was just like, "Well, we're fixing that, son." Anyway, but. That's I had to piggyback on the whole get it done kind of mindset as well. Yeah. And I've also had moments where that's what people have asked from me.
Yeah.
And I think knowing when to say no to that, if it hurts you to do it, then it's just like, well, that's not me or whatever.
Yeah.
But if, getting started, or you clean up in that area and just like I work for people that are flipping houses and that's what they want.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Right.
Yeah.
It's their business model. We're
Right.
helping them achieve their goal.
But I think that goes back to what we started with, was understanding the scope. If the scope is, I want to just make this passable, I want this to be clean and nice and we're done. Or as opposed to something higher quality, that comes back to, well, what's the going rate? Well, the going rate for what?
Yeah.
Installing a floor. Well,
yeah.
What floor and to what quality level?
Right. I think if you think about, what we do at Congenius really is we help you present that proposal with the value prop in there saying, hey, here's who we are, here's what we're about, and help you know your numbers, know your costs, figure out your overhead, your profit margin, and then put a compelling, high quality, high level proposal in front of your customer that conveys excellence and conveys professionalism, and I think for us, like, whether you use Congenius or not, like our goal is to help contractors and help them win. And whether it's just to listen to the podcast and you learn something, or you use our product and we help you with that, that's great. But our goal is to help guys win. And so, regardless, I think some of the takeaways are, the going rate is the wrong question to be asking, because the going rate is going broke. You got to understand your margins. What are your numbers? How are you going to be profitable? That's what you need to be chasing. How do I win at this job? So whether you use Congenius or not, our advice would be find a way to know your numbers, present it with confidence, understand exactly what your profit margins are. So that way, if you don't win, you actually, even though you lost that job, you won because you didn't sign up for a money losing job like a lot of guys are doing. The majority of guys are going out of business. So if you do what the majority is doing, you're going to end up where they ended up, and that's broke. So,
and it doesn't happen in one day or one week.
Yeah.
Over time, it adds up. And one of just adding on to that, I think it's a great summary. And another thing is we have to be careful of is as our businesses expand and grow, what worked at the beginning or what worked at some stage of the business might not work where we're at today.
Totally.
I found myself in that position as a growing business and hiring people, and I started realizing my overhead was ballooning. And it's so easy to miss. Because you just add one more person, you say, well, they're bringing value. I need that. That's helping me grow. That's forward thinking. That's future thinking. But nonetheless, you start recognizing, well, something's got to pay for that.
Yeah.
And so to keep analyzing, make a little space. I've started to, no matter what the business is, to make a little margin to say, okay, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we going the right way? Am I happy with the way things are going? You start looking at the numbers, and we sometimes lose that. We're so worn out and tired, working so hard, and don't have that moment of reflection where we can look at, where are my numbers at? Do I need to change strategies here?
Yeah.
Sometimes a 3-4% increase is huge.
Yeah.
When that means making a profit.
Right.
Versus losing money.
Yeah. It's a big difference. Yeah. And what got you here doesn't always get you there.
Yeah.
And so constant reevaluating. So, all right, well, that's a wrap on this episode of the Contractor Commute. If you have feedback, questions, if you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment. We see all that stuff, or you can email us both directly. Shoot, anything we can help.
Yeah, if we're
out
off our
with.
rockers, so I mean, my challenges, that's all great too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ben@congenius.com.
Let's go.
He's got haters. Just kidding. Yeah. Ben at Congenius or Drew at Congenius. Happy to engage any dialogue.
Yeah.
Any ways we can help. Our software is also live. If this is all like new, and you need to do this, got free trials. Come try us out. 2 weeks for free. Happy to help you out there if we can.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. We're here for you guys.
We're in business too, fellas.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. See you guys next time.